Elon Musk is now saying to some of his users on X, many of them who have fled since the election, that you guys are the media now, talking about his users on X. Let me be very clear on something. The overwhelming majority of idiots on social media, like the Laura Loomers of the world, that's an extreme example, but there are so many morons on X and social media that call themselves journalists. When they can't spell the word, they certainly have no college degree. These are people that don't even do interviews. And if they do an interview, they certainly don't interview the other side. And they call themselves journalists. I see some of these people that say, oh, well, I'm self-employed. I'm a journalist. Oh, really? According to who? That's like me saying I'm a professional basketball player because I can shoot baskets. I mean, really, but it's true. If I went on a basketball court today, now don't get me wrong, I can shoot.
But I am New York, so if you get on the court, I break your ankles.
You probably don't even get on the court. You probably would.
I got something for you for the Christmas season. Ho 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 to Bobert, Green, and Mace. Because when they're shut down, we can look at you and all your MAGA people that don't get no check for Christmas, and the government shut down and you can't fly to grandma. You MAGAs voted for it. Ho, ho, ho. Put a coal in your stocking. How about that?
Thanks, Jason, for the phone call. I appreciate it. Ho, ho, ho. Think about this for a moment. I'm making a fair analogy here. Those of you MAGAs that disagree with me, go right ahead. Elon Musk says, for users that are on his platform X, which is a cesspool, by the way, of bigotry and hatred and misinformation, you're the media now. And they forget about great journalists and people like Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite and Barbara Walters, people that I grew up with. Real journalists who interview both sides and get both sides of a story. There are so many clowns on X that call themselves journalists, and they're not. They just give their opinions based on right-wing propaganda and what Jack Posobiec has to say. That's where they get their information from Newsmax, and they call themselves journalists. They're the biggest clowns that America has to offer. And these people on X, we're the media now. Why is that? Because you go on X and use your little Trump fingers and claim that Joe Biden is a pedophile, that makes you a journalist? What credentials do any of you have? There are real journalists in society. Look, a guy like a Chris Wallace, who I never always agreed with, he went to Fox News, and then when they became the show that they are, Fox Noise, then he went to CNN, and then he retired. But Chris Wallace is a real journalist. Dan Rather, a real journalist. Walter Cronkite, God bless his soul, was a real journalist. Barbara Walters. They knew how to interview people. They listened to both sides, and they report on facts. Many of these people on X are incapable of even listening to the other side. That's not a journalist. Now, I'm not a journalist. I'm a radio talk show host. I'm an opinionated radio talk show host, but at least I interview Republicans. In fact, I interview more people that I disagree with than I agree with. In the last 6 months, I've interviewed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I've interviewed Vivek Ramaswamy. Heck, I've interviewed Caroline Leavitt. I'm not a journalist, but I'm also not a coward when it comes to debating people and interviewing people that I might disagree with. Name me an AM conservative talk show where they consistently interview somebody on the other side. Mark Levin is a perfect example of a coward. The moron goes on the radio every day. Are you a liberal? Are you a liberal? When was the last time Mark Levin interviewed somebody that he disagrees with? I'm talking about a left-wing liberal. Never. In the history of his show, I don't think I've ever heard of a time where Mark Levin interviewed a liberal that he disagreed with and had a debate, because he's a coward. Not only is that not good radio, but it's cowardly. Sean Hannity has interviewed Gavin Newsom a few times, and I give Gavin Newsom credit for that. How many liberals go on Fox News and go on with Sean? Now, Sean Hannity, to his credit, does say, I'm not a journalist. He's not. He's also a talentless boob. Think about it. Michael Savage and some of these right-wing coward turds that are on the air. AM talk radio. Now, I know if I name some of the local people here in Las Vegas, you won't even know who the hell they are. But I can guarantee you they ain't interviewing people that they disagree with because they're talentless cowards. And that's why they have 6 listeners. So Elon Musk could go ahead and say, you're the media. Elon Musk could go on and on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. President Musk could say, you guys are the media now. X is a cesspool of medical misinformation, misinformation about politics, news, even weather, with a bunch of morons who live a second life of being on X. Let me also be very clear. X is not real life. Social media is not real life. And people that are depressed, that have anxiety, I feel bad for these people that are so unhappy with who they are. When they go on X, it's a release for them where they can pretend to be somebody else. That's not real life. And I can tell you that X has done far worse for society than good. And I could also tell you that if I wasn't doing a radio show every day, I would never go on social media. Elon Musk is not the media. Those that are on X that call themselves journalists are not journalists. And just because you have an opinion and you write it out and type it out on Twitter or X doesn't mean you're right, and it doesn't mean you have any credibility.